I am 79 years old and I haven't spoken to my daughter in 11 years. Not because she won't speak to me, because I never said I'm sorry, because my pride mattered more than she did. She called once 3 years ago. I saw her name on the screen. My finger hovered over the green button, but I didn't press it, because pressing it would have meant admitting I was wrong. And I've never been good at that. It started small. It always does. My wife used to tell me I had to be right about everything, not in a loud way. She'd say it quietly when we were alone after I'd corrected her in front of friends about some detail that didn't matter. The year we went to Portugal, the name of our neighbor's dog, small things. But I couldn't let them go. I'd prove my point, watch her face go still, and feel satisfied, like I'd won something. I didn't realize what I was actually winning. We were married 41 years. She died 6 years ago. And one of the last real conversations we had, I mean one where we actually talked, was an argument about whether I'd promised to go to her sister's birthday party. I had promised, I know I had, but I told her I hadn't because admitting I'd forgotten felt worse than lying. She looked at me across the kitchen table and said, "You'd rather be right than be honest with me." I told her that wasn't true, but I never apologized. Not that day, not the days after. I waited for her to drop it, and she did, the way she always did. We just stopped talking about it. We stopped talking about a lot of things. That's what pride does. It doesn't destroy things with noise. It does it with silence. My son understood me better than anyone. We were close when he was young. He wanted to be like me. I taught him to fix cars, to handle tools, to stand up for himself. I was proud of that. I thought I was teaching him strength. But somewhere in his 20s, we started arguing about politics, about the way he was raising his kids, about money he borrowed once and paid back late. I can't even remember what half the arguments were about now. I just remember that I never backed down, not once, because backing down meant he'd think I was weak or wrong, and I couldn't have that. One night he told me I made everything a fight. He said he was tired. He said he just wanted a father, not a debate opponent. And I told him if he couldn't handle a conversation without getting emotional, that was his problem. He stopped calling as much after that. Then he stopped calling at all unless it was necessary. Birthdays, holidays, short, polite. We became people who knew each other but didn't know each other anymore. I told myself he'd come around, that he was being stubborn. I didn't see that I was the one holding the door shut. When my wife got sick, he came to the house more, but we barely spoke. We'd sit in the same room, and it felt like we were on different planets. I wanted to say something. I knew I should, but I didn't know how to start, and starting would have meant admitting I'd been wrong for years. So I said nothing, and he said nothing, and we let it stay that way. There's a special kind of loneliness that comes from being in a room with someone you love and not being able to reach them, and knowing it's your fault. My daughter was different. She was the one who called me out. She didn't let things slide the way my wife did, or pull away quietly like my son. She fought back. We had one argument that ended everything. It was about something I said at a family dinner. I don't even remember what it was now, something about her husband, a joke I thought was harmless. She didn't think it was harmless. She told me it was disrespectful. I told her she was overreacting. It escalated. She said I never listened. I said she was too sensitive. She said I owed her husband an apology. I said I didn't owe anyone anything. And then she said, "You'd rather lose me than admit you're wrong, wouldn't you?" I didn't answer, because the truth was, in that moment, I would rather lose the argument than lose face. I thought she'd cool down. I thought she'd call in a few days, and we'd move past it the way we always did. She didn't call. Weeks went by, then months. I waited for her to reach out first, because if I reached out, it would mean I was wrong, and I wasn't wrong, or at least I couldn't let myself believe I was. My wife tried to get me to call her. She begged me. She said it didn't matter who was right. She said our daughter was hurting, and I was her father, and sometimes being a father meant going first. I told her I'd call when my daughter was ready to be reasonable. I never called. My wife stopped asking after a while. I think she knew I wasn't going to do it, and I think it broke something in her. She looked at me differently after that, like she was tired, like she'd finally seen something she couldn't unsee. After my wife died, my son helped with the arrangements. We were in the funeral home picking out flowers, and he asked if I'd told my daughter. I said I'd sent a message. He asked if I'd called. I said no. He looked at me for a long time, and then he said, "Dad, she's going to come to the funeral, and when she does, you need to talk to her, really talk to her." I said I would. I meant it when I said it. I think I did. I wrote her a letter that night, sat at the kitchen table with a pen and paper, the way people used to do. I started with, "Dear Sarah," and then I stared at the blank space underneath for 20 minutes. I wrote, "I'm sorry." Then I crossed it out. It felt too simple, like it didn't account for everything, like 2 words couldn't possibly be enough after 4 years of nothing. So I tried to explain. I wrote about how I didn't mean to hurt her, how I was only joking, how I thought she understood me better than that. 3 pages of explanations, reasons, context. I read it back, and I realized what I'd done. I'd written 3 pages about why I wasn't really wrong. I'd apologized for her being hurt, not for hurting her. There's a difference. I know that now. I should have started over, written something real, but I didn't. I folded the letter, put it in a drawer, and told myself I'd rewrite it later. I never did. The problem wasn't that I couldn't find the right words. It's that the right words required me to let go of being right. And even then, even with my wife gone and my daughter unreachable, I couldn't do it. You don't realize how much it costs until the bill comes due. My daughter came. She stood in the back during the service. I saw her, but I didn't go to her. I told myself I'd talk to her after, but after the service, she left. I saw her walking to her car, and I stood there, watching, and I thought I should go after her, but I didn't, because going after her would have meant saying I was sorry. And even then, even at my wife's funeral, I couldn't do it. That was 6 years ago. I haven't seen her since. 3 years after that, she called. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was sitting in the living room, and her name came up on my phone. My heart jumped. I stared at it, ringing in my hand. I thought about everything I'd say. I thought about how I'd tell her I missed her, that I thought about her every day, that I was sorry for all of it. But then I thought about what she might say. I thought about her anger. I thought about having to admit, out loud, that I'd been wrong, that I'd let my pride destroy my relationship with her, that I'd hurt her and I'd hurt her mother, and I'd wasted years because I couldn't say 2 words. The ringing stopped. She didn't leave a voicemail. She hasn't called since. I think about that moment all the time. I think about how close I was, how easy it would have been to just press the button, to just say, "I'm sorry." 2 words. That's all it would have taken. But I didn't. And now it's too late. Not because she wouldn't forgive me. Maybe she would. Maybe she wouldn't. I'll never know. It's too late because I'm 79 years old and I've spent so much of my life being right that I don't have anyone left to be right with. My son calls on my birthday. We talk for 10 minutes. It's polite. He asks how I'm doing. I say I'm fine. We don't say anything real. I don't think we know how anymore. I look at old photos sometimes. My wife smiling in the kitchen. My son, young, handing me a wrench in the garage. My daughter laughing at some joke I've forgotten. I was there for all of it. But I wasn't really there. I was too busy being right. People think pride is about big moments, screaming matches, burning bridges, but it's not. It's about all the small moments you don't apologize, all the times you double down instead of softening, all the conversations you don't have because having them would mean admitting you were wrong. And then one day you look around and everyone's gone. Not because they hate you, but because you made it too hard to love you. I didn't lose my family in one moment. I lost them in 1,000 moments where I chose being right over being close. And now I'm 79, and I'm alone. And I can't even say it wasn't my fault, because it was. Pride doesn't take everything at once. It just makes sure you die having kept it.